at 97-94 your final score. As the Warriors continue, David Guthrie diligent to the final buzzer. We'll take a look at that three-point shot to make sure Warriors get the win. And there was no handshake from Karl Anthony Towns and Draymond Green. Towns quickly striding off the floor. Steve Kerr becomes the all-time winningest coach in Warriors history with that win.
Wow. Well, what a game as the Golden State Warriors just continue to find ways to win. They figure it out again tonight in an absolute rock fight of a victory against the New York Knicks. As Draymond Green says night-night to New York, he tells off Karl Anthony Towns, and the Warriors win barely, 97-94 here at Chase Center. I am Evan Giddings. This is Warriors Wrap-Up. We are live at Splash outside at Thrive City. It is a party. If you cannot hear from the DJ, I literally have him just to the right of me. I can barely hear myself. We're going to work through it as much as we can because that's what the Warriors have done. The Warriors have continued to put in the work requisite, necessary to get them in a position where this is a season that is quickly turning into something special. And it feels like every single night we're figuring out how it can be a little bit different, but one and the same in regards to winning basketball. They just had back-to-back 130-point games in which they beat, obviously, Sacramento. They beat Portland. Tonight, they did it with defense. Again, this was a rock fight, 97-94. The Golden State Warriors held the New York Knicks to a season-low 94 points. And I understand that Jalen Brunson did not play in this game. Karl Anthony Towns, who was fantastic tonight until the final minutes, was awesome in their first meeting. But back-to-back games, the Warriors have found a way to stifle the Knicks in second halves. Tonight, they only allowed 44 points. The Warriors themselves only scored 43 points, but still, 22 allowed in the fourth quarter tonight. They only allowed 21 points in their first meeting at Madison Square Garden earlier this month. And this is a Warriors team that is showing, continuing to show, I would say, that they have found ways to win different games. And I've talked about this ad nauseum. That's what you have to do in order to win postseason series. If you're going to get 4 wins, in all probability, you're going to have to do it 4 different ways. If you're going to win 16 times, you might have to win series with defense. You might have to win series with superstar power. You might have to win series with some of your role players, with some of your younger guys stepping up. And each and every night, the Warriors have found a way to add just a little bit to their resume. Tonight, I thought that Draymond Green was the guy who won this game for the Warriors, and he did it with defense. He also did it with a little bit of gamesmanship. You know, there was a couple of Knicks fans that I was talking to here at Splash, and again, right outside of Thrive City. I understand they absolutely hate Draymond Green, but every single Warriors fan I talked to here tonight, who was also happened to be talking track to some of these New Yorkers, absolutely love Draymond Green tonight. Some of the stuff that he does, I can't co-sign. But when it comes to basketball, the guy's a winner, and I think he showed that again tonight. It wasn't as if Karl Anthony Towns, who was pretty much the one-on-one matchup that Draymond Green drew from beginning to end, it isn't as if he didn't have a poor game. Karl Anthony Towns was awesome tonight. He played 30 minutes, he had 29 points, he had 12 rebounds, 5 of them offensive, along with 3 assists. And he did complete the lock of the night, which, by the way, oh my God, I've been on a roll lately, I can't lie. I'm not allowed to gamble on these games, but I wish I could. I had Karl Anthony Towns over 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists. That hit. I had the Knicks plus 7.5. That hit. And I also had a Warriors win. So the trifecta tonight for your boy. We're feeling good. The Warriors are rolling. The 12th consecutive win with Jimmy Butler on the floor. They have now won 7 games in a row as a team, and they are 11 games above 500 as a whole. So they tonight find a way to win. And to get back to my original point again, I thought it was Draymond Green that really drove this game home. I know that Steph Curry ended up with 28 points. I thought he, kind of showed some tire down the stretch in the fourth quarter. He missed his last 4 threes, including a potential night opportunity himself. A dagger from the wing with about 1:10 left that usually seems to go in. He was 8 for 20 tonight, had 28 points. But Draymond, Jimmy Butler, and also Moses Moody, to me, were the 3 most impactful starters in this game. Again, not to take anything away from Steph. However, those 3 individuals, and I thought they did it with their two-way play, really won this game for Golden State. Now, that, to me, is the biggest difference between who the Warriors were before the deadline and who they continue to evolve into. A two-way group that can win on a night like tonight with their defense, not even scoring 100 points. They can also win, like we saw their last couple of games, with their offense, being able to bury threes, being able to put teams away by scoring 130 or 120-plus points. And so, again, it's a very adaptable group. It's a very adaptable team, and I feel like they've adapted in the way that Jimmy Butler does, and they've kind of, assumed his playing style, where it doesn't matter how many points he has, it doesn't matter what number he has in his assist column and his rebound column. At the end of the day, he wins. And it's funny, because as people continue to file in here on our YouTube chat and Twitch, powered by First NorCal Credit Union, they continue to text in here. I know a lot of love being shown already. Oh, Steve Kerr's going to be the first coach with a statue. That's from the 510. I don't know if he'll get a statue, but he did, by the way, pass the late, great Al Attles. 558 all-time wins. Thank you. Appreciate that. Just got some fish and chips rolling in on here, and we will dig into that, and I'm going to gorge myself during our commercial break. But the thing about it is, the Warriors have captured something special, and it's been difficult to describe each and every night because it seems to look different. But the fact of the matter is, if you're watching these games, you can see it. It isn't a matter of, I guess, how many points a particular individual is going to get. To me, the question is always going to be, how are they going to figure this one out? And I felt like tonight they figured it out with their defense. I thought they figured it out with their know-how. And they figured it out with physicality against a Knicks team who I thought was trying to push them around. I thought was trying to bully them. For example, OG Anunoby was a freaking man tonight. OG Anunoby, I thought, got the best of the OG versus Jimmy, one-on-one type of battle for much of this game. He was trying to impose himself on Golden State. Karl Anthony Towns, to his credit, played really well in this game. I thought he played physically, but he couldn't stay on the floor because Draymond Green was in his head. Draymond Green, and this is where, again, Draymond won this game for Golden State. Down the stretch of this game alone, from 4 minutes in, the Golden State Warriors led 90-88. They got the final layup from Draymond when he turned the corner on Cat and got to the rim with his left hand. He had a block on Miles McBride with 90 seconds left. And he had a couple of big rebounds in those final 4 minutes. And he basically was able to summon that Defensive Player of the Year type Draymond that I feel like has not necessarily been missing, but he saves it in the way that Steph has saved himself so many times throughout this year for the final couple of minutes in the fourth quarter, or for a big stretch in the third. Draymond Green waited until the moment arose and then summoned the old Draymond in order to put away the Knicks. And I thought he did it with defense. He also stepped to the line and made 2 big free throws. With 66 seconds left, he gets the strip on. Cat. Cat fouls him to put the Warriors into the bonus. And in a 2-point game, those are big free throws. Draymond goes to the line, knocks them down to put them up 4. Couple of seconds later, he gets the final basket and says night-night to the New York Knicks. So I thought Draymond was fantastic in this game. Again, as the Warriors are now 14-2 in 16 games since the deadline, with 15 games left to go in the regular season. Though they did not get any help tonight from the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have now won 7 games in a row. In addition, alongside the Golden State Warriors, the Warriors have the tiebreaker, so they remain in the 6th. They did get a little help from, of all players, of all teams, the Washington Wizards. And I know that the Denver Nuggets are a team that in all likelihood is, uncatchable for Golden State, although they are right now 3.5 games back of the 4, the 3, and the 2. And right now is occupied by the Houston Rockets of all teams. There's going to be a massive amount of shakeup in the 2 through 5 range, I believe. And if the Warriors can again sneak into it, if they can sneak into that discussion, well then, who knows? Maybe they don't have to be a team that has to climb out of the first round from the 6th seed. Again, they're fending off Minnesota, and it feels like they have as much of a chance to get caught by Minnesota as they do to catch the Lakers, the Grizzlies, whoever's been in front of them for the 5 seed. Right now, they're 2 games back of the Los Angeles Lakers, who have lost 4 games in a row, and the 5 seed looks legitimately attainable. And that's a place where you might be able to avoid a first-round series with Denver. Or, I don't know, maybe even LA if they fall. But you might have to beat Memphis, And so this is a game that I think was important tonight, obviously, for the Warriors to win. It was not an easy game. And to me, they passed the first of their toughest home test and their toughest three-game stretch so far in the Jimmy Butler era, which was New York tonight and then the back-to-back between Denver and Milwaukee on Monday and Tuesday, because Denver looks like they're kind of stuttering. I mentioned how Jordan Poole helped them out. He hit, a 35-footer with about a second left in that basketball game to deliver victory from the jaws of defeat for Washington, 126-123 in Denver. And somehow Jordan Poole is still helping the Golden State Warriors, even though he is marooned in Washington. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you here on Warriors Wrap-Up live from Splash at Thrive City. Please get all of your calls in if you want to chime in on the conversation, if you got questions about where the Warriors are going, if you just want to tell me what you're feeling about this team, if you want to feel about this game. In many ways, I thought it mirrored the first win during the, I should say their first meeting and their first win against New York this season, because it was tough. It wasn't easy. They had to dig deep for it. And in many ways, I thought it was equally as impressive. The Warriors had to win differently tonight. I thought they had to dig deep. They had to get gutsy. They had to get gritty. They had to get down and dirty. And when you need someone to be physical, when you need someone to test the will of another team, I don't think there's really any player that's better at that than Draymond Green. And say what you want about his antics, say what you want about some of the things that he will say in his podcast, specifically about Karl Anthony Towns. I was not a big fan of what he did, but when you watch him play basketball, it's quite easy to understand why this guy is so damn important to what Golden State Warriors basketball has been. They do not win this game tonight without Draymond Green. They do not win this game without his defense. They do not win this game without his mind. And what I mean by that is, in the first half, Karl Anthony Towns was killing the Warriors. In fact, he was killing them for just about every second of this basketball game that he was on the floor up until the final 2 minutes when Draymond ended up owning him. But if you can't beat him, get him in foul trouble. And Draymond was able to goad him a couple of times into picking up cheapies, most specifically in that first half, picking up his third foul, pointing to the bench and telling him to go sit down. Those are the mind games that Draymond Green plays, and I'm sure as an opponent must be the most maddening thing in the world. Along with the fact that he's able to get a big strip and then knock down free throws at the end of the fourth quarter. Along with the fact that he can turn the corner and get to the rack and lay it in to essentially seal the game. Along with the fact that he can be the communicator and center fielder on defense for a final 4 minutes in which the Warriors defense is able to win this game in a physical fashion against the New York Knicks. Draymond Green was the reason why this game was won for Golden State, or I should say he was the one that drove the nail home. And as much as a lot of people don't like to see him adopting the night-night on the other team, this was a game where he absolutely deserved to do it. And it was one where he himself ended up sending the Knicks home. So, big win for the Warriors, again, 97-94, a low water mark for the Knicks, in fact. This is a team, again, I said this pregame, like, they're a very good offensive team. What the Warriors did tonight, they were able to stop them defensively. And, yeah, the Knicks basically didn't have many answers on the offensive side outside of Karl Anthony Towns. You're right, Pierce Evans, on our YouTube chat. Josh Hart was awful. Big old goose egg from him tonight. I thought OG Anunoby was really the only running mate that Cat had in this game. Miles McBride was fine, had 19 points on 17 shots. Is this a game where the Knicks win with Brunson? Perhaps. But it's also the kind of game that I feel like the Warriors have played in now multiple times with Jimmy Butler, and they've just figured out how to get through it. Mikal Bridges, I thought, was also pretty good in this game. But the Warriors puzzle-pieced this thing together. They didn't have to play anybody more than beyond 33 outside of Steph Curry. I thought Steph got worn down a little bit by the Knicks. This is a game that pre-trade, they obviously do not win, the Warriors. But I thought that Steph did enough early in the game to keep them afloat offensively, and then he let the rest of his team, along with the defense, basically, drive it home for him. Obviously, he made enough shots. He took 13 threes in this game, made 4 of them. He missed his last 4 in the fourth quarter. But to me, the 3 players that really won this game for Golden State were Draymond Green, as I mentioned, Jimmy Butler, and then Moses Moody. Moses Moody is quickly becoming, and he has been a fan favorite for a long time, but he's quickly becoming a really big part of this basketball team. And he's shooting close to, if not above 40%, I believe, over the last 16 games now. And a lot of them are even just spot-up, wide-open threes. He's able to knock it down now, it seems like, with relative consistency with a hand in his face. He's not forcing anything. And also, he's willing to put the ball on the deck. There was a play late in that game, and I want to make sure I get the time right, where Moody comes in, right at the beginning of the fourth quarter, where the Warriors lead by 3. The Knicks went on a little bit of a run to end that third quarter with Curry off the floor. Moses Moody puts the ball on the deck, gets into the paint, pump fakes Cat into the air, spins and fades and drops it in over him. That's a move that I didn't know Moses Moody had. He continues to go deeper into his bag, it feels like, every single game. And that confidence that he's playing with is unlocking a different level of play for him. And so, it's a testament to the hard work that he's put in. But the fact that he can go out and get you 18 points in this game, like Moses Moody was the second leading scorer in this basketball game. And I know he only had 1 rebound and 1 assist. A couple of steals, but I thought that he hit enough shots for the Warriors to get this thing done. And Moody, again, over the course of, he's been playing well even before Jimmy was here, but now I think that alongside Butler and bringing Kuminga also back into the fold, he feels comfortable in his role, and I don't think he feels like it's going to get snatched from him anytime soon. I think that Moses Moody is here to stay, in the starting lineup, and potentially the closing lineup, which is where he was again tonight, and I think necessarily should be. Moses Moody is quickly turning into the 3-and-D player that I think a lot of people, maybe over the last couple of seasons, hoped that Andrew Wiggins was going to be night in and night out. They're different players. Wiggins is a champion as the second best player in a title team, but Moses Moody is, I don't want to say Klay Thompson-esque, because Klay was unbelievable, especially as a two-way guy. But the 3-and-D aspect of his game is becoming quite clear. It's rounding into form, and it feels like he's, again, just gaining more and more confidence every single game. The kinds of plays that he's able to make now, I don't know if he's making 2 months ago. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, if you'd been given this opportunity earlier, that you would have found this. I could be true. All I know is that he's doing this now, and it's a part of winning basketball. Moses has been, I think, through the ringer, maybe more so than any other Warrior on this team. Even Jonathan Kuminga signed a 3-year contract this summer that is now looking like an absolute bargain. And the Warriors are getting every single penny's worth from him right now. As another 33 minutes tonight was a game-high +10. Was a +10 right behind Gary Payton's second, +12. But 18 points were second most in this team. Knocked down 4 of 8 from distance on a night where the Warriors only shot 31% from three-point range. That's another aspect to this team, that they don't have to shoot the ball well from 3 to win. You've seen now over the last, I would say, first few games of this homestand, you've seen them win it with the others knocking down threes. Draymond had 23 in the win against Sacramento. Gary Payton II had 26 in the win against Portland. Curry leads the way tonight with 28 points, but Moody is able to hit 18 and knock down 18 of them. In a game where you score 97, that's absolutely necessary. And it's just been really, really impressive what this kid has been able to do, and he's only 22 years of age. So 888-957-9570 is the number. Cam, if we have any calls, please line them up for us. Looking forward to chatting with everybody here tonight on a Saturday. Thank you for spending it with us right outside of Chase Center at Splash at Thrive City. There is as you can hear, a DJ literally right next to me. There are people behind me. There is a lot of action going on right now. And I'm just hoping that we can all have some fun together, because that's exactly what the Warriors are doing. That is exactly what the Warriors are doing right now. Oh, by the way, so Jimmy Butler now. Oh, appreciate that, my guy. Sorry. Hey, Dan, would you be able to move that down just a little bit? Appreciate that, brother. Jimmy Butler now So there was an article earlier today that was written on ESPN, and it was about how Jimmy's been able to impact winning with immediacy literally everywhere he's gone, even to dating back to his days with the Bulls. His first 15 games in Chicago, when Derrick Rose was a part of that team, they went 10-5 his first 15 games. In Minnesota, when he made his Timberwolves debut after getting traded there prior to the 2017 season, they started 10-5. Right when he got on the scene, they finished with 47 wins and got to the playoffs. In Philly, when he was traded in November, that first month that he got there, in the first 15 games, they went 11-4. With Miami signing with the Heat as a free agent, they started out 12-3. Now through 16 games, I guess technically it's gotten to the 15-game mark that Jimmy has been in and been on the floor in those games. They're 14-1. So the Jimmy effect has been real no matter where he's been, but it has never been to this extent. And I do think it's the fact that he's never played with anybody this talented. It's been because I think Jimmy Butler has quickly fit with what the Warriors are trying to do, and he's added a dimension of physicality. He's added a dimension of IQ, and I think he just, more so than any player that I've seen that's joined the Warriors in recent memory, been able to just assimilate on the court. I haven't been able to view him as much because I've been doing post games here. I've had a chance to talk with him one time after a post game. And that was actually after the Charlotte game way back when. But the dude doesn't care about stats, and I think that's another thing that Golden State Warriors culture has, I think, been a bit underrated for. The selflessness that a lot of players, mostly embodied by Stephen Curry, have displayed when they've gotten here. You know, not everyone has been able to do it, but Jimmy, to me, is that selfless superstar. And the last couple of nights, I think, are Exhibit A and Exhibit B of that. He goes for only 6 points in the win, which they blew out the Sacramento Kings. Tonight, he ends up with 11 points, and he goes 3 for 11 from the floor. But he makes enough winning plays as the number one passer on this team tonight. 7 assists to 1 turnover, taking care of the basketball, being at the forefront of a team that only turned the ball over 9 times. And, oh, by the way, Curry and Draymond had 6 of those 9. You know, he's able to manage the games in a way that I haven't really seen too many people be able to do it in Golden State. And one thing that I love the way that Kerr has leaned into it a bit more is he's using Jimmy almost as just the pure point guard. Like, I understand that Podziemski is out, and his target return date is going to be Tuesday against Milwaukee, barring a setback. And so maybe Pods handles the ball a little bit more. But even when Podziemski's on the floor, if Curry's not, and even when Curry is sometimes, Jimmy Butler is the point guard or point forward, whatever you want to call it. He initiates everything. And whether it's him getting into the lane, kicking out, or beginning sets, getting the ball back and connecting a play, his passing to me has been just as lethal, if not more so, than his scoring or potentially his rebounding. And I just love the way that he's been able to fit into this group and the ease with which he's playing with currently at this time. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. We do have Steve Kerr coming up in just a little bit in its entirety. I do want to take some time out right now at the top of the hour to really just give a shout-out to Steve Kerr, tip the cap to Steve Kerr, because, you know, tonight, 558 all-time wins. I went through this pregame, but Steve Kerr is right now the second active leading head coach in the NBA in terms of winning percentage. And quick reminder, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and H21 San Francisco, always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. But passing up a legend like Al Attles is not something that I think we should bat our eyes at. Like, that guy in many ways represented Golden State Warriors basketball and what it used to be during its previous heyday. He was the head coach of, before 2015, the most recent team to win a championship with Rick Barry. And in 1975, this was a guy who, you know, was a part of a group that did something special in the 70s. And up until 2015, the Warriors, it was difficult to think of them sniffing titles. And so now it's become commonplace. Winning has become synonymous with the Golden State Warriors. But being in the same conversation with someone like Alvin Attles, the late, great Alvin Attles, deserves its proper respect. And I think that Kerr is someone that, the fan base has a back-and-forth relationship with. But at the end of the day, if you don't appreciate the kind of work that he's done, whether you think that, I don't know, he was handed a silver spoon, so to speak, of a situation, or whether you believe that, I don't know, maybe his head coaching resume isn't as impressive as, his actual acumen, or his acumen isn't as impressive as his resume. It doesn't really matter. Like, Steve Kerr was the right man at the right time for the Golden State Warriors in 2014-15. And he's proven now over the next decade, by officially passing Al Attles tonight, that he is one of the greatest Warriors ever. As a coach, I don't know. What I love about Steve Kerr is generally his humility in these situations, because he's never going to be one that will put himself first. He's always going to say it's about the players, it's about the stability, it's about the organization. And I guess if I can, just for a night, kind of make it about him. Like, what he did is transform a budding, star-laden group and elevated them into a stratosphere that has now become dynastic. I think the head coaching job that he did in 2022 is one of the best ones that we have seen in a long time. And yes, he's been blessed to be partnered with one of the greatest players in the history of basketball in Steph Curry. He's been blessed to be partnered with, I think, one of the most generational defenders of his era in Draymond Green. Obviously, Klay Thompson, arguably the second greatest shooter in the history of basketball. And Kevin Durant, one of the greatest scorers in the history of basketball. And now he's had to work a little bit harder when he hasn't had as much talent. And the one thing that, whether you think he's done a good job or not, I've never heard Kerr complain or blame his players. I've never heard him point to those guys and say, I can't win because of them. He always points at himself and says, I messed up, or I need to do a better job, or I made a mistake there. And I just don't think that we hear that a whole lot from head coaches around the NBA, especially ones that are of his ilk or that have the amount of titles as both a player as well as a head coach. And I think it's refreshing. And, Steve Kerr is going to have his ups and his downs for the remainder of the season. But how he's also been able to welcome someone like Jimmy Butler into the locker room. Yeah, Steph's a big part of that too. I think Draymond's a massive part of it as well. The rest of the team has opened their arms up to him. But that locker room is cultivated in many ways, I would say, equally by their head coach. And the fact that he's been a player's coach the entirety of his time with the Warriors has made it easy for a player like Jimmy Butler III to step into and just find his place without any pressure, without the load of, hey, you're here to save a dying season. We got you for 2 more years, but there's a lot of pressure on you, Jimmy. It never felt like there was any of that. And I think that's a testament to Steve Kerr and just what he's been able to do with the Warriors. All right, let's go out to Eric in Millbrae if we can. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings live at Splash from Thrive City. Warriors 97, Knicks 94. Eric, what's going on, my man? How are you?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, well said about Kerr. Just incredible. And probably the greatest decision he ever made. Remember, he was leaning towards taking the Knicks job. Just imagine how different everything would have played out if he decided to take that job instead at the last second being convinced to take the Warrior job.
I'm sorry, Eric, you're kind of breaking up. Please call back when we'll try and get you on. Sorry, it's also a little loud here. I'm trying to get this thing going. Hey, my man, Ali. My man, I'm sorry. Can we just a little bit? Appreciate it, man. Thank you. I can barely hear myself. I hope it's not coming through that loud in the on the radio. So thank you to everybody that is tuned in for this edition of Warriors Wrap-Up. Again, here on 95.7 The Game. My name is Evan Giddings. It has been a lot of fun to cover this basketball team in recent weeks. It's been a lot of fun to watch this basketball team in recent weeks. Yeah, it's loud, Eric. I hear you. Thank you for letting me know. I can barely hear myself, to be honest. By the way, it is a great place to come hang out after this game. I just didn't realize that they'd have a DJ on Friday and Saturday. Like, I'm not a real big, club kind of guy, DJ kind of guy, house music kind of guy. But I understand where people like the vibe, people like the ambiance. And so hopefully it adds a little bit to it. But at the end of the day, people are having fun. And, I mean, the reason why is the Warriors. Like, someone actually walked up to me here at Splash earlier and told me, gosh, man, like, there's a lot of people out here, and you're doing a great job of promoting Splash. And I'm not going to lie. Like, we talk about it, and I got some food here that's awesome. I'm going to dig in just a moment. But the Warriors are selling everything right now. They're selling this environment. They're selling a great venue right now at Chase Center. They're selling excellent experiences on television when they're on the road. They're selling out arenas. Steph is getting MVP chance in Brooklyn and at Madison Square Garden. And it's all because they're winning. By the way, Hector, this restaurant bar is called Splash at Thrive City. But the Warriors are doing this themselves. And it's because they're winning basketball. Like, someone, when the trade was made for Jimmy Butler, I think I was doing Warriors This Week with my guy Dan Devone, and someone called in and said, well, at least the Warriors are going to be fun now. Or, why should I watch the Warriors before they made this trade? Like, they got to make a move because they got to at least be watchable. You know what's watchable? You know what's fun? Winning. Watching this team figure out how to win has been fun. That's what's been so great about this season. I mean, to me, it's like, especially considering where they were, I don't care if they were losing 145 to 130 or 90 to 85. Like, they were just losing too many games. They were blowing games. They weren't closing games. It doesn't matter if Steph Curry was going off or if he was getting triple teamed or wasn't figuring out a way to get his shot off. They were not a watchable team because they lost more than they won. And this team now has, with Jimmy Butler, won 12 consecutive games that he's been on the floor. They're 14-1 when he's been active and in. They're 14-2 since the trade deadline. And they very much look like a dangerous squad that has a lot to say in this Western Conference. Now, again, to me, the next two games are going to, and I told everyone this earlier today, I will tell you next Saturday, or really next week, whether or not I consider this team a contender. And I think that Denver and Milwaukee are going to let us know. This was, however, a great step in that direction. Being able to take care of the Knicks at home in the way that they tried to beat you up, the kind of game that Cat was having until the final 2 minutes, the physicality with which they play with, and the fact that you didn't have your greatest offensive night. I thought this was a gutsy win for the Warriors. And they've been figuring out different ways to wrap up gutsy wins. And, if you were to define this W, I don't know if you'd call it physical or tough or gutsy. And appreciate it, man. Yeah, I got you. I can see there's food there, buddy. All right. Let's actually step aside. I'm losing my train of thought here. It's pretty loud. It's real tough. So let me step aside. I'm going to talk to this DJ right next to me. If you have a call, if you have a question, please line it up at 888-957-9570. My name is Evan Giddings, and we'll be back also with Steve Kerr on the other side right here live from Splash at Thrive City on 95.7 The Game.
elevation sensation for GP2.
Now back to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Tim Roy on the call there for the Warriors' 97-94 win against the New York Knicks. The Warriors are 11 games above 500 for the first time in 2024-25. They remain in 6th place, tied with Minnesota, who also can't seem to lose. Dubs have won 7 in a row, so have the Timberwolves. So right now they're 2.5 games back of 5. They're also half game back of falling into 7th place. There's a lot of action going on in a very competitive Western Conference, and that's why, again, it's an important win. Each win has become important for the Warriors. It's just been a matter of how they've got it done. A couple things to clean up here before we get out to the phone lines at 888-957-9570. From the 510, asking about resting Curry, Nuggets, or Bucks. I think that Curry's going to play against both of them. I actually think that Steph is going to do his best to play in both those games, unless he's physically unable to go. He's been playing back-to-backs, and that knee tendonitis, the bilateral knee tendonitis, has not really been bothering him as much as I believed that it would linger. And I don't know if Jimmy Butler is the cure, but he's certainly cured a lot of things for the Golden State Warriors in regards to what was ailing them prior to the trade deadline. As for a couple of comments from our YouTube chat, I am kind of with Jimbo here about Moses Moody. Yeah, the last 20 games, he has been their most solid player. He's really moved into a different category of role player. And I talked about this on Monday after the Blazers win. Like, if you go look at during this 16-game stretch, the plus-minus of Moses Moody, it's in the same category as a Derek White, as a DeAndre Hunter. Elite role players for teams that have aspirations to go win a championship. He has been awesome. And the fact that he's now also been able to shoot it plus north of 40%, during this stretch of great basketball the Warriors have played, he's truly a 3-and-D player. And he doesn't need the ball, but he can make a play with it if he needs to. He's making the right passes. He's not playing outside of himself, and it feels like he's gaining confidence each and every game. All right, let's go talk to Philmo Mike if we got Philmo Cam. Philmo, what's going on? I feel like you're right in the booth with me. What's up?
What's up with it, man? That was a great game. Fun game. That's how you showcase the NBA. Good job, ESPN. But Chase is lit. I like it. I always get a feeling when people are like, man, it ain't as lit as Oracle, man. It's lit, man. I'm going to have to go to a game before the season ends. Moses Moody, can't say enough about him, man. I'm glad he getting his shine. I'm glad he getting his run. He really balling. And Butler is he's like a more efficient and a threat to score Draymond Green, which is lovely. And one thing about Draymond Green is funny. I was talking to my sister. Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson. It's unfortunate Klay had to leave, but the linchpin is, of course, Steph. But then at the same time, right, you got Klay Thompson, the other splash brother, but it wouldn't work without Draymond. So, like, internally, like from the outside looking in, you'd be like, oh, it's going to be Klay and Steph. I would see them lasting longer. But internally, it had to be Steph and Draymond because their connection and synergy is like second to none in the league. So I just wanted to say that you're doing a hell of a job, brother. Shout out to Cameron.
My guy Cam Williams, he knows what's good. Our network coordinator. Cam is the man. I know that people don't always get to hear him, don't always get to see him. But Cam is the man that makes this thing go. Thank you, by the way, Philmo. Appreciate the kind words. I think you are right in a sense, like, if I can simplify it, because it feels like that's what Jimmy Butler's done for the Warriors. Draymond Green is still what this team needs. He just is. I don't agree with all of his actions. I don't agree with all of his antics. I don't think that he's, by any way, shape, or form, a perfect person. But on the basketball court, he's still damn good when he wants to be. And he can still, again, like tonight I thought that he outsmarted Karl Anthony Towns. He didn't beat him with his brawn. He beat him with his brain. Draymond was able to goat Cat into picking up cheap fouls that made sure that Cat wasn't able to play. Cat was awesome up until the final 2 minutes, but he scored 29 points in 30 minutes. He had 12 rebounds, 5 offense. Cat was giving it to everybody. And if he had been able to play his full allotment and he averages, like 37, 38 minutes per night, then Karl Anthony Towns might have been the reason why the Knicks won this game. But Draymond Green got into his head. He beat him with his brains. And he also, down the stretch, was able to make enough of the winning plays, and that, to me, is the difference. That's why Klay Thompson, unfortunately, is no longer here and Draymond Green is, because Klay Thompson was no longer able to make enough of the winning plays. And they had to mix it up. Klay's an all-timer. Klay's beloved. Klay is a great. But that's why Draymond Green's still here and he's not, because Draymond is able to have that kind of impact more often. And if they're going to win a championship, Draymond Green has obviously got to be a big part of that. Jay on YouTube is bringing up Guy Santos. Now this was, okay, so Guy started tonight, right? And I think Kerr went a little bit smaller because he wanted to throw some different wings at Karl Anthony Towns. It didn't work. He scored the first 6 points and had like 13 in the first quarter in 6 minutes. But what he was trying to do, I understood. I just don't think that anybody was going to be able to stop Karl Anthony Towns tonight. The one thing that Cat does do that gets a little bit understated, like he gives up as much as he scores sometimes. Tonight he was awesome offensively, but the amount of times, like Curry actually got going, I thought, because in the third quarter, Cat kept playing drop coverage. Cat basically kept going under every single screen, letting Steph step into threes, and he hit back-to-back triples that got him going in that quarter and allowed the Warriors offensively to remain, level, if not above, every single response that the Knicks had offensively. So, Karl Anthony Towns is kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, but I think he's a plus overall for the Knicks. But when Mitchell Robinson was on the floor, I thought they looked tougher defensively. And in a game like this, that might have been, I don't know the way to go is the answer, but, when Jalen Brunson's healthy, Karl Anthony Towns and everything that they do together, it's a little disjointed. And I feel like that might also be the reason why they haven't beat the best teams in the league. More often than not, they're now 3-8 in their last 11 games against teams above 500. So Karl Anthony Towns, I think, is a really good player. Maybe just a little bit flawed. And also, look, Draymond Green was calling him soft, and I can understand why. But he's extreme. He's one of the most talented big men I've ever seen. And the fact that he's unable to always play and kind of elevate that level of toughness and grittiness might be the only thing that's been holding him back. I thought he found it last year in the playoffs against Denver. He played tough against Jokic. He played tough against Aaron Gordon and was a big reason why they got to the Western Conference Finals. And I was hoping that could, be something that he could bring to New York, because I thought last year the Knicks were a really tough team, even though they got bounced in the second round by the Pacers. Like, OG Anunoby is a tough player. 6'7", 230. He's a freaking bulldozer, man. Like, if there was one thing that I didn't really like about Jimmy's game tonight, it was the fact that he was no match for OG Anunoby. That one-on-one matchup did not go Jimmy's way time and time again. And I thought that Jonathan Kuminga did a little bit better of a job on OG, but he's just a freaking freight train, man. Speaking of Kuminga, I thought that because YouTube was also bringing up the fact that they felt like, JK should have started over Guy. One theory, I don't know if I buy it, that I heard was, since Kerr said before the game he's not going to be able to play more than 10. Tonight he played a 10-man rotation. When Podziemski's back on Tuesday, that means that someone's got to come out of the rotation. That's Guy Santos. So he allowed him maybe to start tonight because there was a little bit of a matchup. But I also think maybe he just wanted to throw him a bone in what could have been one of his last games where he's getting real tick, because Pods is going to come in and eat up those minutes, and then you're going to have to obviously give JK a lot of them. I didn't think that Kuminga, by the way, had a great game tonight. I thought that when he came in, he played with the patience that we saw against Sacramento. But he got a little impatient, I think, because he wasn't scoring. But I thought Kuminga was just as lethal with his passing. He had 5 assists tonight and only 1 turnover. He's had 1 turnover in the first 40 minutes that he's played since his return from injury. I thought that when he started to force things offensively in that third quarter is where he got into trouble a little bit. He took 4, I think it was 3 or 4 really tough fadeaways. He made one of them, but going into the chest of Mitchell Robinson, trying to take it at Anunoby, even Towns, I thought Kuminga played a little impatient down the stretch there. And that's also a credit to the Knicks, because I think that they force you to try and do too much just with how hard they try and hit you, with how physical they play against you. I think Kuminga got caught up in that a little bit, but it's not anything I'm necessarily worried about. The 5 assists to me were impressive tonight. The 3 for 8 obviously is, not great, but I think he'll be able to bounce back. It's something maybe pay attention to, but I'm not going to make a big deal about it. GP2 was also awesome tonight as well, and so that's why Kuminga probably got 20 minutes. Peyton at the 4 essentially, which is where he plays, even though he's 6'2". He was impactful tonight as a plus 12. Had a couple steals, only turned the ball over. Did not turn the ball over. Buddy Hield tonight didn't shoot it particularly well, and the Warriors still won. That's another part, too. It's that's why Buddy's role right now, I think, is awesome, because he can go 1 for 7, and then he only plays 15 minutes, and you take him out, and he doesn't kill you. Because someone like Quentin Post was good enough to stay on the floor tonight. Even though he only made 1 3, he's enough of a threat out there in his 19 minutes to space the floor and at least have the opportunity to shoot. Though Post got taken advantage a little bit defensively, I thought that he was really good in his first stint in the first quarter. There was a play where Deuce McBride was coming down the lane, and I thought that he was going to go right by Post because there was some miscommunication. I'm not sure if it was Kuminga was supposed to switch. Post ended up on McBride. And McBride is a quicker guard than Post is, but he shuffled his feet. He moved his feet really nicely, and he cut off McBride, forced him to pass it to Bridges, and immediately Post heads up, got to the baseline, and contested what ended up being a forced fadeaway shot by Bridges that he missed, and then Post grabbed the rebound. Those are the little possessions and plays where you can see that even though Post may not have the best foot speed, he's a heady defender, and it feels like the more time that he's gotten, especially playing alongside Draymond or Jimmy or some of these really high IQ defenders, he's picking up a little bit of that, and I really liked what I saw from Quentin Post tonight. 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings live at Splash at Thrive City outside of Chase Center. Warriors 97, Knicks 94, 11 games above 500. Mark and Petaluma dropped. No worries. Wanted to talk about Steve Kerr. Well, let's just hear from the head coach. Steve Kerr, after the game, was asked about, of course, breaking Al Addle's record, was asked about a tough win, and how this team continues to roll. Here's the head coach.
You guys have had a lot of celebrations lately. I know you don't want to make it just about you, but what was that moment? I assume there was a nice moment in the locker room, too, to celebrate you become the all-time franchise leader in victories.
Yeah, it was a great moment, being awarded the game ball by the Addles family. It was really beautiful, to sort of, be honored by their presence. And, obviously Al Addles is Mr. Warrior forever. And, the record, it's kind of surreal to even think that this could happen. But as I said earlier, it's a reflection of our organizational strength and stability and the talent level over the last, 11 years since I've been here. So I'm incredibly lucky to be part of this organization and part of this city, and very humbled by the honor because of Al's greatness and what he means to the franchise. But I will definitely enjoy the evening and the memory and being with his family especially.
How much did it mean to you to see Phil Jackson flash up on the Jumbotron?
That was pretty cool. Phil, one of my mentors, the basketball education and coaching education I received from him and Tex Winter, I think about them literally every day. We do drill work and practice that we've been doing for 11 years that goes straight back to my days in Chicago. Our offense, a lot of it is based on the triangle. Watching Phil over the years, handle players and the relationships he built with them, pretty special to see him, offer those congratulations. That was very moving for me.
Yeah, Steve Kerr, that was actually, so what he was talking about is after the game, I'm not sure if it was on the telecast on ESPN, but basically there's a lot of different people that were important in Kerr's coaching life who sent him congratulatory messages, and the last one was Phil Jackson. Unfortunately, Greg Popovich is not able to finish out this season due to health issues, and I just hope that he's able to be all right. I'm not sure if he's going to coach again. But Popovich is obviously a big influence from Kerr. And, it's funny, like, thinking about Phil Jackson is perhaps the greatest coach of all time. Greg Popovich is in the conversation. Steve Kerr, I don't know if he ever will be. But you can't take anything away from him. He's the head coach of one of the, 5 dynasties in the history of NBA basketball. The Celtics under Red Auerbach. You got the Lakers in the 80s under, a few different head coaches actually, but I think most people associate them with Pat Riley. And obviously the Bulls with Phil Jackson, the Lakers with Phil Jackson, the Spurs with Greg Popovich, and the Golden State Warriors with Steve Kerr. Like, that's the group that he's in. Whether you believe that he deserves to be or not, I hate to break it to you, he is. And Steve Kerr's contract is up at the end of next season. Will he coach beyond that? I don't know. But as long as Steph is here, I think Kerr's going to be here. And as long as both of those two players are here, it does feel like this Warriors team is one that's going to have a chance to compete because they're right for each other. It's like, yeah, Kerr had all this talent. Okay, sure. Red Auerbach had Bill Russell, and then he had Larry Bird, along with a lot of other Hall of Famers along the way. I'm just saying, like, these are the number one players that they're attached to. Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Greg Popovich, Tim Duncan. At the beginning of his career, David Robinson. You need talent to win. I don't care how great of a coach you are. This isn't going to be this is going to be University of Texas El Paso in the 1950s where you come out of nowhere and win a national championship. In the NBA, you need players, you need talent. And most times you need pantheon players. Again, all of those players that I just named are considered one of the greatest to ever lace them up and step foot on an NBA hardwood court. Steve Kerr has that, there's no doubt. But he was able to maximize it. He was able to get the most, I believe, out of the talent at his fingertips. And they didn't win every single championship. The 16 season is perhaps a stain, but he's won 4 titles as a head coach. The 5 as a player, neither here nor there. But to me, it's like trying to take away anything from Steve Kerr. And look, if he has a bad game or makes a poor decision, I'll sit here and criticize him. But we're talking about legacy. If we're talking about where Steve Kerr is among the greats, his resume puts him in that conversation. The only thing that I think is a bit, maybe lackey, you could say, would be the career wins. And I don't know, because he's only now a decade plus. I don't know if he's going to be able to be a head coach through 20 years. I don't know if he's going to want to be a head coach for a total of 20 seasons or more, which is what it's taken Greg Popovich to eventually set the all-time NBA wins record. I don't think that's really on his mind. But I think the fact that also Steve Kerr was selected to be the head coach of Team USA speaks to how great of a mind other people think he is. And he's got a gold medal. He was the head coach of what some people believe to be the greatest Olympic team or assemble of Olympic team of all time, or certainly since 1992. And he was able to get enough out of that team to win a gold medal. I think with the Warriors more so, because that's to me where it really matters the most. Like, being a head coach for the Olympic squad is great, but what you do on the NBA level is most important. And I think Steve Kerr has gotten the most out of this group. He instantly came in and brought a philosophy that allowed Steph Curry to become the most lethal off-ball threat in the history of basketball. He allowed Klay Thompson to become one of the greatest two-way players in the history of the game. He allowed Draymond Green, for all of his faults, and the very first season that Steve Kerr was head coach of Draymond Green, he literally threatened him in a locker room. or maybe it was the second season, but early on in his tenure, Draymond Green threatened his head coach. And those two people have been able to coexist through thick and thin. And I just don't think that he gets enough credit compared to how much blame he's generally assigned. So on a night like tonight, the Warriors got a great win. I think it was a gritty victory, and it was an awesome one because they're, 14-2 since the deadline. Maintains their hold of 6th place in the West. But it's also a night to appreciate Steve Kerr. And I just feel like we don't really do that often because it's also hard to evaluate head coaches, but his resume speaks for itself. So that's what I would have to say about that. 888-957-9570 is the number. Oh, and R.C. Davis is checking in. I think a great point. Kerr has been under. Phil Jackson, Lenny Wilkins, Chuck Daly, Lute Olson at college, Greg Popovich. A lot of guys that have helped. And he would be the first to tell you, too. That's the other part about Steve Kerr. He would be the first to tell you that all of those legendary figures have contributed to him becoming the head coach or the man or the player that he was. And he's extremely deferential when it comes to credit. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's paired with a bunch of players, maybe outside of Draymond Green. They don't really toot their own horn. But he's also a fiery competitor. You don't see it a whole lot, but Steve is just as willing to kick some ass to get a victory as he is to, after the game, say all credit goes to other players. And those are a very special group of folk. And, as someone who's had the chance to cover this team, who's had a chance to speak to Steve Kerr, who's had the chance to be jumped by Steve Kerr in a press conference and then go up after and have him say, yeah, no, it wasn't anything personal. Like, I appreciate him as the head coach of the Golden State Warriors. What's coming up for the Dubs? A couple of big games on Monday and Tuesday. Nuggets, Bucks. This is a really interesting spot, right? The Denver Nuggets have not been playing great basketball. They are, right now, 3.5 games ahead of the Warriors, 43-25. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They just lost to the worst team in basketball. Let's just go ahead and say it. For lack of a better term, put the rat on the table. Brought to you by Adco Pest Control. They just lost to the Washington Wizards on a 35-foot hoist by Jordan Poole. 126-123. I don't know if that's something that is the Warriors you like, or also something that might make you say, all right, we're going to get this team's best shot because they've been playing poorly and they got to wake up. And Michael Malone is going to light a fire under their ass for the first of a 4-game trip that they are going to be on. I think it's going to be another tough game. I'm interested because I think it's a barometer test. To me, if you're looking at matchups in the West at full strength, if the two teams are playing their best basketball, if all teams are playing their best basketball, I think I can make a case that the Nuggets are the team that is the toughest matchup for Golden State. They literally have not beaten them since the 2022 first-round playoff series when the Warriors went on to win a championship. They are 0-7 in their last 7 regular season meetings, and a lot of them have been extremely frustrating. What was it, the 16-point comeback with 8 minutes left last season. Jokic's half-court heave to beat them in that game. They came from behind in Denver and have so multiple times. They feel like the dragon that the Warriors have yet to be able to slay. And they're led by who I believe is the best player in the world, in Nikola Jokic. And look, not all of their losses have been like this, by the way, but the Nuggets looked a bit mortal against Los Angeles on Friday night. They only won by 5 points, and Bronny James was playing big minutes for the Lakers. I had someone text me earlier today that said Nikola Jokic cannot be the MVP because Bronny James hit a corner 3 over him. A little cheap, but point taken. Nuggets haven't been playing their best basketball. They got waxed the game before that on Wednesday against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I thought their win earlier this week against Oklahoma City was very impressive, but they also got beat handedly the night before against OKC. So they've been up and down, and odds are the Warriors are going to get a good effort from the Nuggets, and they're going to have to try and weather that storm. And then also come back the next night, and oh, by the way, try and battle Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is a force in and of itself. So the Warriors, over the next 2 games, are going to play, I don't know how you slice it, but certainly 2 of the top 5 players in basketball. And that, to me, is what is going to let me know just if they're a contender or not. every game, every win, they've been building towards, I don't know if it's a label. They don't really talk about it, and nor should they, because they're just taking every game one at a time. But for us, the pundits, the media members who discuss these things, they've been building towards us, putting them into the category of contention. I've said this before. I think there are 3 teams that are clear favorites: Cleveland, Boston, and OKC. The next couple of tiers, the Warriors are in. They're a team with action. They're a team that could win a championship. But I don't know if I'd consider them. I don't know if I consider that a contender. If they beat Denver, if they play them tight, if they beat Milwaukee, if they play them well, I might be willing to do it. Depends on how it looks, depends on the results. But this is a Warriors team that is playing with a lot of confidence right now. And it feels like every single game, they're just going to be able to figure this thing out. From the 3-2-1 on our text line, Draymond going to dominate Jokic like he did Towns and show him how great of a defender he is, or still is. Well, I think, Draymond obviously proved that tonight. I said this. Draymond basically brought this game home, I think, with his acumen and his defense. He summoned over the final 4 minutes enough of a level to really bring this game home. But against Jokic, this is a completely different beast. Jokic is, for as great as he is talent-wise, physically, he is just as strong mentally. And I don't think he's someone that's going to be goaded into picking up cheap fouls the way that Karl-Anthony Towns was. Towns was kicking ass. He just wasn't able to be on the floor for the majority of this game because Draymond got him in foul trouble. I think it's going to be really hard for Draymond to get Jokic in foul trouble. And if he does that, well, then we're certainly tipping the cap. It's also a game where we're going to see Draymond measure up at the 5 and how the Warriors' small ball lineup fares against a bigger group. The Nuggets got a lot of size. Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Zeke Naji comes off the bench for them. And, of course, Nikola Jokic. They got a lot of length, and they got a lot of physical basketball players, particularly Aaron Gordon. To me, he's the swing player. He's the X factor for them. And if he's available, if he's healthy, it's going to be hard to take down the Nuggets. But I certainly am looking forward to it. And I think the Warriors might even be favorites in that game, just with the way that the Nuggets have played and the way that the Warriors have played. But they're going to be 2 really good matchups. I look forward to hopefully being there for both of them. And I'm not sure if I'll be doing pre and post for Monday and Tuesday. But either way, Chase Sanders is going to be rocking a lot like Splash is now. There is literally a brigade of people that are doing a cha-cha line down with a happy 37th birthday sign for Steph Curry. And it looks like there's a lot of clear glasses that are also being lined up for this group of about 12. So they're having a lot of fun. They're enjoying themselves. And I think everyone else is too. From the 4-1-5, I think the key to the Denver game is putting Jokic in all the action, do the pick and roll with Jimmy. Yeah, perhaps. I also think that Jokic is a better defender than Karl-Anthony Towns is. He's also someone that offensively he's a better playmaker. He's just a better player. And Karl-Anthony Towns is as talented as any, but Jokic to me is just a different beast. And he's no slouch defensively. I don't think he's someone that is going to just play drop coverage and not basically step out and try and contest Steph, which is what allowed Steph to get going in that third quarter because Cat basically just let him have every 3 that he wanted. And to me, that is not smart defense. He was giving up as much as he was getting. That's something I don't know if Denver's going to do. But I think the Knicks are also a more physical team at the wing spot, outside of Gordon. I thought OG Anunoby was a freight train tonight. I think Mikal Bridges is I don't know if he's as physically dominant, but he's hard to handle with how long and tenacious he is on defense. I don't know. Some people are saying Quentin Post might be an answer. I'm not so sure. I don't really want Quentin Post guarding Nikola Jokic for long stretches. I think that might be a Kevon Looney game behind Draymond Green at the 5, obviously, because we've seen Looney match up and I don't know if stop Jokic is the operative term, but we've definitely seen him help contain him. To me, it's the Warriors are going to try and turn him into more of a scorer. When those triple doubles are coming in, when those assist numbers are high, it's really hard to stop the Nuggets. And so, in a way, if Jokic is up around 30 and he's got 6 assists, I think you're going to be in that game. I just think there is. It's going to be fascinating to watch. It's going to be really interesting. And I think the Warriors can absolutely win that game. Again, before the deadline, I would not be looking forward to this back-to-back. I would not be looking forward to also, by the way, the second crack that the Warriors will get at Denver at home at the beginning of April. I wouldn't be looking forward to those games, but now I am. And I'm looking forward to them because I think the Warriors can put themselves in a position where I am willing to call them a contender if they can beat Denver, if they can beat Milwaukee, if they can keep this bad boy rolling. And they're 11 games above 500. They're 14-2 since the deadline. They're 14-1 with Jimmy on the floor. And they've won 12 straight games with Jimmy Butler. 7 straight as a team. The only thing that I guess is not to celebrate is the fact that the Minnesota Timberwolves have also won 7 in a row, and they remain tied for the 6th seed. But that's just going to just about, I believe, unless we have any callers, Cam, to clean up here, that is just about going to wrap it up here live from Splash at Thrive City. Again, my name is Evan Giddings, hoping to be joining you on Monday and Tuesday against the Nuggets and the Bucks for a couple of really fun games. And I think, again, every game, the next one, is the most important and the most fun to watch. And I think it's going to be a tough back-to-back. I don't think it's going to be easy, but that's what's going to make those games all the more interesting. And I cannot wait to be here at Chase Center. And if anybody is at Splash in the future, please stop by. Please say what's up. It's a great place to grab a pop, grab a burger before and after the game, and enjoy what has become a hip and happening part of Mission Bay. So, again, big thank you to everybody who has chimed in, everybody who has called in, our YouTube chat powered by First NorCal Credit Union, our text line. Big thank you to everybody who has kind of weathered the storm with me tonight at a very loud Splash bar. And thank you for also sticking with me through some of the thoughts that I've been able to have to work through with all this noise. It's been an interesting night, to say the least, but at the end of the day, it's been a winning night for the Golden State Warriors, and that's all that really matters. Big thank you to Cameron Williams, a legend back in our booth at 95.7 The Game Studios, our network coordinator for every single game, every single broadcast. Big thank you to Steven Risotto earlier this morning. Big thank you to Carter Chickering, Chris O'Connell, both of our elite producing cutters back in our studios, making everything sound tip-top shape for you. My name is Evan Giddings, saying so long from the Splash Bar. The Warriors won last time, 97. The Knicks, 94. Good times rolling. We'll talk to you next time in your home for Golden State Warriors basketball, 95.7 The Game. You've been listening to Warriors Wrap Up.
UCLA in the 5 years before John Wooden had one winning season.
They haven't won a tournament game since 1999 or 2000. I mean, you